Welcome to Artist. This week we have director Martin Kigondu and Sandra Nekh, and they have a talk about their art forms. Have a listen.
I believe it is not my place to tell your story. Aaron Carter. Look at that. Eastern Butterfly. This is one of your books that I'm familiar with. And also Amir. And I'm a huge fan of your work. So Vilaliambia, we're having this conversation. I was like, oh yeah, Sandra Nekh. I love Sandra Nekh. So let's start with the basics, yeah? The telling of other people's stories. But the most basic place to start would probably be, how are you? Ukoaje?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I woke up today. Some people did not wake up. I get to have this sit down. It's really important for me to be able to speak to my fellow artists, also Kenyans, and show them that there's hope. You know, those small stories you normally create at home, there's hope for you. So this is lovely. I'm in my zone. I'm excited. I can't wait to have this conversation.
Let's jump in. Like I started with the quote you have at the back of your book. Do you feel the pressure to tell stories? And this could be other people's stories, if not your story. Is there that pressure?
I think for me, the pressure is to tell an authentic story. So whether it's someone else's story or my own, I try to focus on telling it authentically, especially from the emotional side. So I'd say I don't necessarily tell people's stories, I tell people's experiences. So I focus a lot on how they feel and how those feelings interact with the community around them, the people around them, and now the next level, after now the reaction now, what happens next? You know, is it another action? Is it words? Is it retreat? You know, so I now build it up from there. Yeah. So necessarily experiences over stories, because stories are personal. Your story is yours. I tend to want to respect that. But something like pain is something universal. Something like love is universal. Anxiety, lust, you know. So I tend to focus on those experiences and the emotions around experiences.
Oh, that's what's up. I really like that. Because, for instance, in my sphere, I always find that the pressure is there. Because there are so many stories you want to, for instance, in my case, impact is a huge word. So Nico, there are so many stories I'd like to give out here and for people to feel the impact from those lives and their experiences, like you said. Now your pressure at times you build up. I got to a place where I was like, you know what? I won't even lead with the pressure anymore. I'll just do life. And when the story really, really bugs me and the characters really do, that's when I'll create, which I feel is super different from you. Because, for instance, my output versus your output, and it's not even comparing, I'm competing, but you're prolific with the writing, right?
I'd say people don't know this, but I started writing way back. So like my first books, I started them just after, when I was in my final year of undergraduate. So it's about 10 years of work. And most of the books, I wrote them just after graduating. I spent 2 years at home looking for work and everything. So a lot of these stories were forged then. And then they were just stored. Something my brother always told me, write, you never know when you'll get writer's block. So I do have new stories, but not as many as the ones that I already wrote that now need like a revamp to fit the timeline. And speaking of work, you know, I know a little bit about you and I have had the pleasure of working with him before, an amazing director. And Prevail. Yeah. So Prevail is a big project in the world of theatre. And you're also going into film?
Yeah, dipped into film for a while there. A couple of TV shows now. The award-winning Subterranea. Subterranea was a cool project. We had County 49, a few others. So guys can check out like films on both Showmax and Netflix and all these other platforms. But anyway, I hear what you're saying, and thanks for that. Thank you. But you've been back to back to back. There are two things that you said I'd like to revisit. One, you said was the gap, like the 2 years that you took to just write and write and write. I really appreciate that because a lot of people don't realize that at times these seasons of like a plateau in your life are probably the best creative times you'll ever have, because life does get busy.
Yes.
Yeah, life does get busy.
It does.
In my case, I remember, and this story si watu wengi wanajua, because I started this thing, the path on this thespian thing in 2007. Yeah, so I did that for the first 3-4 years before I joined the Phoenix Players. And at the Phoenix Players, as much as I'd built a name as an actor, I didn't just get in as an actor. So for my first 2 years, and this is 2009 and 2010, I was mostly at the back. I was an assistant stage manager. But people don't know, those 2 years of me just being there, I read a lot. I read all these plays, and I didn't know, like 7, 8, 9 years later, they call me to be a director. And when the time came, when they were like, Martin, you're directing the next project, Niliko, oh yes, I've been ready. Yeah, there are all these plays I've been wanting to do that I'd seen a gap in the cerebral space. A lot of pieces never looked into, like, unajua, the human mind and the possibilities therein, and a few others. So again, going back to that space of nothingness, it's really important, even for the writing, because as I realized, we probably started writing around the same time. I started writing in 2014, and for me, ilikuwa pia a need, noticing that we don't have as many Kenyan stories out here on stage, let alone on screen. At least on screen, we've seen the Vitimbis and the Viojas, and then the Nairobi Half-Lives and so on, but on stage, we didn't have as many. So again, it was another season of almost nothingness between 14 and 15. As much as I was busy, nilikuwa, I guess it's time to write, and I really like that, that I had that chance, and clearly you too. But you also spoke of writer's block. It feels like it's a thing you're afraid of, is it? And two, have you experienced it?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Incidentally, publicly putting out my work, I started in 2014. But then I started writing in class 4. Yeah, so I have all my too small 2 books that I wrote, exercise books. Sometimes I'd even take papers and make small books, and then I would write novels, and I'd share with my friends. So like my OG friends, they know the beginnings. Yeah, and writer's block is not something that really affects me, because my system for writing is different. I don't take too long to write. So I have a 1-month policy. I write the first draft in a month. Now, when I say the first draft, I mean with all the mistakes, with all the everything. The idea is to get the story out of your head, yeah? And then later on, we should talk about characters, because I want to know how you work on your characters. But then, yeah, so the characters, I bring them out as raw as I can in the beginning, create the plot and the world building, and then I leave it. So some of these stories is what I'm revisiting right now. So they sit and just wait for the right time for them to come out. So when I hear people say about writer's block, the thing I tell them is try to diversify your mediums. Also, if you're writing too much on paper, change to your laptop or computer. If you're writing too much on your computer, change to pen and paper. Also, don't have like a writing spot. Diversify that too. And then I also tell people, when you're writing, I write across genre, because I haven't picked what I want to write yet. I'm still growing. So I tend to write fantasy, and I write contemporary, I write romance, I write action, but they have all a thriller sense to them. And I also love the psychological space. You mentioned the way the mind works. I love, so most of my books deal with identity, finding yourself, healing. There's that level of psychology in them. And so what I do is I watch and read within the genre. So if I'm writing historical fiction, I will only watch historical fiction, and I will try to limit it to the area. So if it's East Africa, I will read books and mythology and our folk tales and listen to music. I stay in the genre. So it also helps me to maintain the space, so that I don't have that block comes from being distracted. Yeah. And then you lose the words and the connection to that space, you know? Yeah. So I stay in the space. and that's how I'm able to just. I haven't experienced it. I'm very lucky, yeah. And then also, when I finish a book, I jump to film. When I finish film, I'm teaching. So I rarely have time to go like, oh, I'm blocked. Yeah.
That's really cool remedy. Like the diversifying form and format, and I really like that. I don't know what I feel about writer's block, but because I don't want to claim it, but I do know there are seasons where I struggle through writing. But I've noticed that these seasons come when there's a timeline. So for instance, for TV is easy to write because we did the writer's room and we know we have to forward this my episodes by this day. That's easy for me. If you're given, let's say, 3 weeks after the workshopping and all, I'm probably the guy who'll forward it the following Monday because I'll be like, wacha tumalizane, here are my episodes, see ya. Talk to me on the second draft and so on. But for film and theatre, because I noticed that I would rather write when I'm journeying with a story as opposed to when I'm pressured to finish by a certain date. The thing that comes easiest to me is directing, and I know a lot of people struggle with that. But producing and writing, this year I've decided for producing and writing, I'm doubling my price because I'm really, I don't want to say I'm struggling, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So, for instance, what I'm writing right now, I do have a short film and I have a one-woman play. Yeah, both of them I've been writing for the last year, 6 months or so. So unlike you, where I'll sit and get it all out, I'll have to figure basics of the story. So I don't care how much research we've done, because that's what I've done with all of them, but Nico, I still don't have my way in. Yeah, as soon as I lock in the through line, more or less, I'm in and I'm ready to go. But at times, Nico, I would rather wait for life to lead me, and I know waiting for inspiration can mess you up. No, let me just do life. I'll find it in a conversation. I'll bump into Sandra and we'll talk about ice cream, and maybe that's where I get my Lily. Yeah. So I really like that as a solution. But you hinted something about characters. How do you build yours?
Oh, mine is so funny.
Yeah.
When you talk about inspiration, my characters are inspired by real life. So sometimes I'd be walking, and this one time I was having lunch with my friend Wangari, and we were at a restaurant near this there's a street in Nairobi near Hilton, and there's a clock. So we were upstairs watching, and I remember seeing this old man with these tattered clothes, and I was looking at him and I was like, I just love the way he's so relaxed, yet I can see his problems. He's wearing them, he's maybe not eaten, but then his sense of self is so assured. And now for me, that's a character. So now in my head, I dove into the second book for Eastern Butterfly, and I saw this old man, and he's a shaman, and I started to see him. So it's always very interesting, and my friends understand me. What I do is I remove my phone and I write. Even if it's a paragraph or something, I just start writing, and I pull out my phone, I'm like, just one moment, then I write, and then I grab a photo of him. So she asked me, you're posting him? I'm like, oh no, I don't post people, I don't post strangers. I need to remember him, yeah. When I sit down, I need to remember him and where, because I see a lot of this and I'm always doing this, so I'm like, I need to remember him. So, and then when I go, I write down my character. Now I'll go delete the photo and everything, but then it's always a sense of like, it starts with a character, and then the character situation, and then from there, now other characters within that environment reacting to that character, and then it keeps going. So like for my newest book that we launched Christmas, it started with a kid called Zaddy, and I saw Zaddy, and that point in my life I was very broken. I knew what sleeping hungry was like, and I was thinking about Zaddy, and I was also visiting my friend with his friends and other things. It hit me a certain way, and I went home and Zaddy came to me. This kid is smart and he's a mover, and he knows that, what, my mom is sick, my dad left, I have to get something in that house in the evening, and he is so smart, street smart. He will handle business, get people with greatness. And then now, Zadon's house is there's a little down, there's a place, like golden and golden. So they're like this golden circle, you know? Yeah, so it kept growing and growing. And then I related it to my first book, the social science. So, because the world building productive living, and that's one of the reasons why one of the projects I'm doing is I'm rewriting my first books because the world is listening.
When you get to a place where
Okay.